There's a strange feeling that creeps in quietly, usually when you're standing still for a moment, maybe paying a bill or looking at a receipt, and you wonder how money seems to slip away now, even though life itself feels smaller and slower. It doesn't rush out the door, it doesn't announce itself, it just leaves in little pieces, almost politely. And the truth is, it's not because of bad choices or carelessness. Most of it comes from habits that once made perfect sense, things that were useful, comforting, even necessary at one time. Back then, they helped you manage a fuller, busier life. Now they're still hanging around, quietly asking for a little money here, a little energy there, without meaning any harm. Not mistakes, just leftovers from another season. When you notice that, it isn't failure you're feeling, it's awareness, and awareness is a form of wisdom that only comes with time. What makes it heavier is that life has simplified in so many ways. There's less running around, fewer needs, calmer days, yet the bills don't seem to notice. They keep arriving with the same confidence they always had. Part of that weight comes from things that stayed behind when life slowed down. Objects, subscriptions, spaces, routines that once matched a faster rhythm. They weren't wrong choices, they were loyal companions to a different chapter. And it can feel confusing to carry their cost now, when your days ask for less. That quiet mismatch can feel discouraging, but it's also the moment where clarity begins, when you gently realize that what worked then doesn't have to keep working now. There are things many of us keep, not because we use them, but because they carry a feeling, a sense of safety, a quiet promise that says, just in case something breaks, just in case someone needs it, just in case life suddenly asks for more than it does right now. Those things often sit quietly, out of the way, asking for very little attention. And that's why they're easy to forget. But even when they're silent, they still ask for something in the background. A little maintenance, a little protection, a little space. Sometimes a repair, sometimes a replacement. Sometimes just the cost of keeping them safe and untouched. What makes this tender is that these things were never foolish to keep. Many of them were chosen during years when responsibility meant being prepared, when letting go felt risky, even careless. Holding on was a form of love, a form of readiness. So when they stay longer than they're needed, it's not clutter in the careless sense. It's emotional storage. It's memory and caution sharing the same shelf. But over time, that shelf gets heavy. Not because the items are bad, but because carrying just in case forever can quietly tire the heart. There's a gentle relief that comes when you realize you don't need as many backups as you once did. Life is steadier now in a different way. You know yourself better. You know what you actually reach for, what you actually need, what truly supports your days. Letting one of those things go isn't about losing security. It's about trusting the calm you've earned. When fewer objects are waiting in the background, fewer worries tag along with them. The space feels lighter, but so does the mind. Breathing becomes easier, not because the room changed, but because the quiet pressure lifted. Peace often comes from knowing that today doesn't require the same armor as yesterday. Some things did their job already. They protected, they prepared, they served their time. And when you allow them to rest, you're not being careless. You're making room for ease. You're choosing calm over caution. And that choice has a way of settling gently into both your space and your spirit. There are machines in our homes that don't make noise anymore. but they still quietly ask for something every day. They sit there faithfully, plugged in, waiting, even if weeks or months go by without a single touch. A freezer in the corner with only a few items inside, a second refrigerator holding air more than food, a device bought with good intentions that once felt necessary, helpful, even exciting. They don't complain, they don't demand attention, and because of that, they're easy to overlook. What's gentle to remember is that these appliances were never mistakes. They arrived during busier years, fuller homes, louder kitchens. They helped when life required more hands, more storage, more speed. They did real work. They earned their place. But time has a way of changing the shape of our days, and sometimes these helpers keep standing at attention long after the job has grown smaller. Even in silence, they draw power, need repairs, or quietly age in ways that cost more than we notice. There's a subtle weight that comes from keeping something alive just because it once mattered. It's not about the electricity alone. It's the low hum of responsibility in the background. The thought that something might break, the sense that you should be using it more, the mild guilt of waste that never quite leaves. When an appliance outlives its usefulness, it can take up more than space, it can take up attention. Letting one of these machines go isn't giving up comfort. It's acknowledging that it already gave what it had to give. There's a dignity in thanking something for its service and allowing it to rest. When fewer things are quietly running in the background, the home feels calmer, simpler, easier to manage. The silence becomes real silence, not borrowed quiet. What often replaces that old appliance isn't inconvenience, it's relief. Fewer things to worry about, fewer surprises, fewer small drains pulling from the edges of your day. The home starts to feel more in step with who you are now, not who you needed to be years ago. And that alignment brings a steady kind of peace, the kind that doesn't make a sound, but you feel it all the same. Sometimes it happens without any real thought behind it. You reach for something simple and notice there's another one right there, and maybe another just behind it. It doesn't feel excessive. It feels familiar, almost comforting. For many years, having extras meant you were being careful. It meant you were thinking ahead, making sure nothing ran out, making sure the household kept moving without interruption. That habit came from responsibility, from experience, from knowing what it was like when running out caused real stress. Those backups stayed because they earned their place. They worked during busier years, fuller homes, louder days. They protected your time and your energy when both were stretched thin. But as life settles into a steadier rhythm, those extras don't move the way they once did. They wait quietly. They collect dust. And without making a sound, they keep asking for something in the background. A little more money spent before the first one is used. A little more space given over. A little more mental effort remembering what's there and what isn't. Nothing dramatic, just a constant gentle pull. What's different now is that you know yourself better. You know what you actually use and how often. You know how long things last in your hands. There's less guessing, less urgency, more steadiness than before. Trusting that isn't careless. It's something you've earned over time. Keeping fewer extras doesn't mean you're unprepared. It means you're aligned with the life you're living now, not the one you had to manage years ago. And it's okay to pause here. Not to change anything, not to sort or decide or act, just to notice. Maybe one small spot came to mind while listening. A shelf, a drawer, a cupboard that holds more than it needs to. Let it sit there for now. The noticing alone is meaningful. It shows that something is already shifting, quietly and without effort. You're not late to this. You're not behind. You're paying attention, and that awareness settles in gently, the way real progress often does. You know how sometimes you're walking through the house and you realize you haven't actually been in a certain room in a while. Not in any meaningful way. You pass the doorway, maybe glance inside, maybe flip the switch without thinking, and keep moving. It doesn't feel like an empty room. It just feels unused, like a conversation that ended quietly and never quite restarted. Those rooms didn't become quiet by accident. They were once part of busy days. They held routines, movement, purpose. Someone needed that space, or you did, at a different time. And when life changed, the room didn't complain. It just stayed there, waiting, while the house continued doing what houses do. Heating it, cooling it, lighting it, treating it like it's still being lived in every day. There's a gentle kind of drain in that, and it's not only about money. It's the feeling of keeping everything active all the time, even the parts that no longer serve your daily life. It's the background effort of maintaining spaces that don't really ask for your attention anymore, but still quietly take it. That effort adds up, not loudly, just steadily. What's easy to forget is that homes don't need to stay fully awake in every corner forever. Just like people, they change with time. Allowing a room to rest isn't giving something up. It's acknowledging what your life actually looks like now. Fewer places pulling at your energy. Fewer areas demanding care. The house starts to feel simpler, not smaller, just more honest. And when a home matches the rhythm of the person living in it, something settles. Bills ease, yes, but so does the mind. There's less to manage, less to keep track of, less quiet pressure humming in the background. The space begins to work with you instead of asking something from you. It's not about closing doors or shutting things down. It's about letting parts of the home exhale, letting them rest the same way you've learned to rest. And in that shared calm, the whole place starts to feel lighter, steadier, more like it belongs to the life you're living now. And then there are the things that stay active even when your life no longer asks for them. Not in your rooms, not on your shelves, but quietly in the background. Little agreements you made years ago that never checked back in to see if they were still needed. They started during seasons when being prepared mattered. When staying covered, connected, or enrolled felt like the smart thing to do. Signing up wasn't careless. It was thoughtful. It matched a life that moved faster and asked more of you. But time has a way of softening those needs, even when the payments don't get the message. What makes these harder to notice is that nothing looks out of place. There's no mess, no clutter, no obvious sign that anything is wrong. Just a steady charge that shows up again and again, attached to something that no longer touches your everyday life. And because it's familiar, it fades into the background, like noise you stopped hearing. Letting one of those go can feel strange at first. Not because you'll miss it, but because it quietly marks a change. It acknowledges that you don't live the same way you once did, and that recognition can feel personal. But there's no loss in it. It's simply honesty catching up with reality. When those old commitments fall away, something steadies. Your money stops drifting toward expectations that aren't yours anymore. Your attention feels less pulled. There's a sense of dignity in knowing you're supporting the life you're actually living, not the one you used to plan for. It doesn't feel like giving something up. It feels like things finally lining up. Like your time, your energy, and your resources are standing on the same side again. And that quiet alignment brings a calm that's hard to measure. but easy to recognize when it arrives. It's easy to miss how often this happens, because it feels so ordinary. You need something small, something familiar, and in that moment you can't quite picture where it might be. So you replace it. It makes sense at the time. The day keeps moving, the task gets done, and there's no reason to think twice. Later on, sometimes much later, you come across the original, still useful, still fine, sitting quietly where it was placed for safekeeping. That discovery can bring a mix of feelings: mild surprise, a little annoyance, sometimes even self-blame. But what's really happening isn't forgetfulness. It's accumulation over time, layers built during years when life demanded speed and flexibility. When a home holds many seasons at once, things naturally slip behind one another. Useful items don't disappear. They just stop being visible. And when something isn't visible, it slowly leaves the mind as well. So the next purchase isn't about wanting more. It's about avoiding friction, about choosing ease in the moment. The quiet cost shows up afterward, not dramatically, just in small repeats. Buying again what was already there, storing more than needed, feeling the space tighten without knowing exactly why. But there's nothing careless in this. It's simply what happens when a space has been serving a long, full life. What brings relief isn't getting rid of everything. It's allowing what's already there to come back into view. When useful things are easier to see, they're easier to trust. And when you trust what you have, the urge to replace softens on its own. Less effort, fewer quick purchases, fewer moments of wondering how something doubled. There's a quiet satisfaction in that shift, using what's familiar, reaching for something and finding it right where you expect it to be. The space feels more cooperative, more forgiving, and the money that once went toward replacing hidden things stays put, supporting your days without asking for anything extra. It's not about reducing life. It's about uncovering it. Letting what already belongs to you step forward again, ready to be used, instead of quietly replaced. So then there's that moment when you realize you handled something faster than you meant to. You didn't stop to think much about it. You just wanted it done. The bill paid, the problem gone. The situation settled so you could get on with your day. At the time, it felt fine, necessary even. Later on, that's when it catches your attention. Not because it was a big amount, but because it didn't feel chosen. A fee that didn't need to be there. Something replaced quickly because looking around felt tiring. A renewal that rolled through because it was easier to let it than to pause. None of it comes from carelessness. It comes from wanting peace in the moment. This kind of spending has a different feeling to it. It doesn't bring comfort or usefulness. It just removes pressure. And when that happens too often, money starts doing a job it was never meant to do. It becomes a way to calm stress instead of support life. That's when it starts to feel draining. What's underneath it isn't disorder. It's simply too many small things floating around without a place to settle. Dates to remember, papers waiting to be handled, details that are clear in your mind until suddenly they're not. And when they resurface, they do so urgently, asking for attention all at once. That urgency is what costs the most. Not the task itself, but the rush attached to it. When fewer things are waiting unfinished, that rush softens. Decisions don't arrive already demanding action. There's room to think again, to choose instead of react. And when that happens, days feel steadier, not tighter, not controlled, just calmer. Fewer interruptions, fewer surprises. Money stays where it belongs, Not patching over moments of stress, but quietly supporting the rhythm of your life as it is now. After a while, you start to notice something quiet changing. Not in your wallet right away, but in how your days feel. There's less second-guessing, fewer moments where something catches you off guard. The numbers matter, of course, but what shows up first is relief. The sense that things are steadier now, more predictable, easier to live inside. There's comfort in knowing what's coming and what isn't. Bills don't surprise you as much. Decisions don't feel rushed. You're not bracing for the next small expense to pop up out of nowhere. That calm is worth more than any single amount saved because it stays with you. It lets your mind rest. It gives you back a feeling of control that doesn't rely on watching every detail. Sometimes it helps to have a gentle pause before spending. Nothing strict, nothing heavy, just a quiet moment where you ask yourself, does this actually help my life right now? Not every time, not perfectly, just often enough to bring choice back into the moment. If the answer is yes, you move on without guilt. If it's no, you've saved yourself more than money. You've saved energy. And if something came to mind while listening, something you stopped paying for and felt lighter afterward, that's worth sharing. Not as a victory, just as relief. The kind you'd mention in a calm conversation, so someone else might recognize themselves in it too. These small stories have a way of reminding us we're not doing this alone. None of this needs to happen all at once. One small change is enough. One quiet decision that makes your days a little easier to manage. Aging well isn't about cutting life down. It's about simplifying it so it fits you better now. If staying connected like this feels helpful, you're always welcome to stay with me here. Thank you for giving your time and attention. Take things gently. You're doing just fine, and there's no rush to be anywhere other than right where you are.